Hello. This is the 88 mile per hour, an experimental podcast from the year 2222, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast.
Another show.
Another show.
And for some reason, before we get into the show, I have something I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Which is pretty different from the stuff we normally talk about, but something I'd noticed the last few days, which is more and more people out in the world are wearing space helmets.
Yeah, I noticed this too.
Yeah, but they're not, as far as I can tell, they're not going to space, like they've not got a spacesuit or anything, just wearing the helmets. And what I noticed was that it's the same, they tend to be wearing the same model. Like some people, have different ones, but mostly it's the same model. And it's the same model that a friend of the show, Michael Lasagna 19, that he wears. He was on as our guest, and I noticed it was the same model.
Yeah, now that because I noticed it, I was in a car the other day, and other passengers, there were like most of the others had. I think they were a group, but they all had. Yeah, that's true. The same color, same shape.
Yeah. And sure, he's one of the most famous celebrities on the moon, so it makes sense that he has that kind of influence that people want to copy his style.
Yeah.
But it's more that I was. It seems so sudden, you know.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden people are wearing their helmets.
Exactly. I mean, he's been a celebrity for forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm still really happy that he was...
that he had time to appear on our show.
Yeah. Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Michael Lasagna 19.
Okay, well, let's see. So I think bars all around the world will sell less drinks.
Potentially, or maybe even come up with a way for people to drink drinks through space helmets.
Okay.
That would seem useful anyway.
The next boundary in science to cross. And maybe it's a kind of a bridge into this week's topic.
Sure.
Kind of, because it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah. Space, yeah.
Pirates.
Pirates are also up in the air. They fly around in their pirate ships after all.
We mentioned it a few episodes ago, I think.
Right, they were flying. So there were some pirates above Frankfurt, and it shut things down for a while.
Exactly. That was when I was at the conference.
Right.
Yeah. And then we got quite a few listener questions about this. So how's this working in the 23rd century? I can't remember a time without pirates.
Likewise, no. But sure, 200 years ago, they must not have had pirates flying around above cities.
I thought pirates have been around forever.
That's my impression too, yeah, like hundreds of years. But.
Exactly, especially if you see some of the pictures, some of the stories, seems like they've been around forever, but at least our listeners seem to go like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah. Maybe there was 200 years ago, maybe there was a brief period where there weren't pirates flying around.
Must have been boring.
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, so we thought, sure, to clear up, we speak about pirates a little bit more. Yeah. It's like semi-technological because airships have a whole bunch of technology.
Right, they float around, they fly around rather, so there's some anti-gravity stuff going on there, of course. But more importantly, they have really cool names.
Yeah. I think that's the reason. That would be a reason for me to join a pirate crew, just because the ships have the coolest names ever.
Yeah. I was figuring let's just list a bunch of them back and forth, you know.
Yeah. And I totally have a few favorites, but you go first.
Oh, me go first. I can't say that one. I can say how I think it is, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Capodastro. Yeah. I know. I think Capodastro. Okay.
Or I think they're Italian. Maybe you pronounce it Capodastro.
Capodastro?
No, I've only heard it as Capodastro. So,
okay.
But that's
the one where they all wear capes.
Yeah,
so
and I think that's also the most famous one. It also has a bit of a classy ring to it.
Sure.
Because
the next one not so much.
Yeah, exactly. So we wrote down a few. A grumpy cat.
Yeah, not so classy, but pretty funny. The next one, Red Ocean.
Yeah, Red Ocean. I think a lot of them have some sort of hidden message or hidden joke or hidden reference.
Sure, an inside joke, yeah.
Exactly, or not so hidden. I like Damned Daniel.
Yep. And I'm just going to go into less detail. I'm just going to let's
sure.
So Velociraptor.
Yeah,
it's nice. Oh, so I said I wouldn't. Okay, but that one's cool. Velociraptor.
Exactly. I like that one too, and I like that's the ship that's completely black. The Ezekiel 2517.
Yeah.
That's one of the more grimmer pirate crews, as far as I
Sure, a
understand
bit
it.
more serious.
Totally.
Escalated quickly.
Yeah, I like that
That's
too.
nice because when they go by, hey, that escalated quickly.
Exactly. It's like if you visited by them, so you can't say, "Oh, I was kind of surprised." No. That's they kind of had the warning. One of my favorite ones is Noah's Ark.
Yeah, the G is sometimes on the end is silent, but you get it either way.
Yeah, exactly.
And the last one, at least on our list, I mean, there are many more, of course, but this was a list of like the really cool names. The Chosen One.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But it's basically like there's many pirate ships, and
Sure.
I think the list in Alipedia isn't complete either. And then it's basically sorted by heists or by side of the crew or yearly revenue, exactly, stuff like this.
Yeah.
And then it's like if you get down the list, there's a lot of ships in there that I've never heard of.
Of
At least
course.
all of these.
I mean, trying to make names for themselves.
Yeah.
Haven't got there yet.
I think what's interesting is like the ones that we just mentioned. I think they're all, at least right now, they're really big. So they have a yearly revenue of like several millions of euros. But you also have smaller startup ships, right? They're literally smaller.
Yeah, physically. I mean,
Yeah.
they haven't been able to add additions to themselves or buy larger ships.
Yeah. But they basically get investors. You know, if you have a good story and you have some young, motivated crew, and you're saying this ship we put together, and we think if you invest, we can get a yearly revenue right back. And then so it's basically, and once you get proper funding, you get your startup ship in the air, and then maybe you find a niche, an area that isn't visited by pirates a lot, or just a way where you can be quicker or more efficient.
Sure, a lot of it's logistics, like getting the booty from one place to another in the most efficient way.
Yeah, exactly. And then it is really like some of the ships that we just mentioned, they're all established, but some of them really started as startup ships, But if you have the proper people at the helmet, then
The helmet?
or the
helm.
the helm, sorry, proper and proper people.
It's
with
more
a
like
helmet.
Vikings. Vikings have helmets, These are pirates.
Yeah, you have the person at the helm having a proper helmet
Sure.
can really take off.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, like, I think each pirate ship has a few really essential positions to.
Yeah, 5, like 5.
Yeah.
You obviously can have additional roles, but these are like the 5 necessary ones for a pirate ship to be a pirate ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there's the chief execution officer, the CEO.
Yeah, totally. I'm trying. What's the second in command called?
The vice president, carpentry and surgery.
Right. So why do they combine this? Because every ship has this vice president, carpentry, and surgery.
So also it must be some old-fashioned way of saying it, because you'd expect like carpenter and surgeon or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like the title is rather the place rather than the person.
But it's also because it's a clear, like, the responsibility of the chief execution officer are clearly different from the VP, carpentry and surgery. But maybe because it's such an old profession,
Right.
it's like, I guess maybe it's not just in charge of carpentry and surgery anymore. Maybe it's more like operations. It's like maybe like if this function would come into being right now, it would be called chief operations officer or so.
Sure.
But because it's so long, this is
Used to be most operations were carpentry and surgery.
Yeah, exactly.
Then there's a quartermaster of science, senior plank walking specialist, and there needs to be a cabin boy.
Yeah, or several ones.
At least one, exactly. So there's a trainee program.
That's right.
So that you can have several at any one time. They tend to die often, so you don't just want to have one at a time.
Yeah, and I think that the trainee program, like the cabin boy trainee program, is well sought after, right? It's quite popular.
It's pretty prestigious.
And then depending also, like, because a lot of ships are part of like a bigger conglomerate, and then you can basically, you are a few months on one airship and a few months on another airship. You get to also learn from different management styles.
Exactly. See firsthand, experience firsthand those different styles, learn from them and take from them what you need.
I also think like for a ship itself, like this trainee program, you also find out if a cabin boy really has what it takes to be a pirate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it's a thing where many people will have the idea that they might like to try it, or that they would like the idea. So many people like the idea of being a pirate, and it's good for them to actually try it out before committing.
Exactly, and then like because a senior plank walking specialist, of course, it's part of the job to. It's pretty dangerous. Like it's I think it's one of the most dangerous positions on an airship, on a pirate ship, and then I think it's the first position that a cabin boy can aim for after he's completed the trainee program.
Yeah.
Because they often need new plank walking specialists.
Yeah.
So it's what I find interesting is that they work on a real clear ROI schedule.
Return on investment.
Exactly. So it's at least what I've read, because to be honest, I don't know any pirates personally. They have on the one hand they have their booty, and this basically has a monetary value.
Sure.
On the other side, they have the costs, and it's basically the ship, the personnel.
Yeah. Sure.
What else?
The personnel themselves. So keeping them happy, basically. That you don't have to keep training new people.
True.
That you can retain the good ones.
And I guess marketing, of course.
Yeah, legal fees.
And they have the membership of the Yoho. A lot of costs, and there's a lot of them are maybe smaller, but they all add up, and at the end you need like the booty needs to outweigh the costs, and of course some of them are fixed, personnel costs are fixed and so on, but the other ones are flexible. But of course, depending on which booty you get, you kind of have a much larger stream of revenue.
Yeah.
But what I mentioned before is that you have some of the bigger conglomerates, right? So you have these...
Right, not just one ship all alone, but many of them banded together.
And you have family-owned ships, but also then ships are really part of a big group, basically. And they also keep on, maybe that's exaggerated, but they keep on buying up each other. Did you hear that Capo Destro bought that ship called Stradivarius? That really wide ship that had the sails that looked like strings.
Yep, I know the one you mean. Yeah. I think I forgot the name of it, but I know the...
It's Stradivarius. That's the one that also offers tourist tours.
Right.
So you can basically book a trip on the Stradivarius. You can even book
go along a pirating raid with them.
Yeah, exactly. You can, and that's apparently super expensive. And the thing is, there's rumors that these are staged, and that the actual booty that they're getting is basically the money the tourists pay to be.
Sure. Or even not even that, just props.
Yeah,
because the whole thing is staged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For the experience.
But that was a pretty lucrative business apparently. So they were doing well, and then Capo Destro bought them. So officially, I have to say Stradivarius, a Capo Destro ship.
Right. Yeah. It's a inelegant name.
Yeah, I understand it, and then I think all the official channels like the news and so on, they now say, the Stradivarius, a Capo Destro ship was spotted above this in this city, but day to day, everybody just says Stradivarius. So.
Sure.
But that it's.
It's funny they didn't do some kind of now I forget the word, but when you take two names and mush them together. So, for example, it would have maybe made sense to call it the Capovarius or something like that.
Oh yeah, but it's Stradistresto.
Exactly, but they didn't go that way, so okay, it's the long name instead.
I think also because Capo Destro they owned several ships already.
Sure.
So maybe they tried to make because there's
It's the simplest way is to just stick a Capo Destro ship on the end.
I think the original Capo Destro ship, I think it's not flying anymore even.
Sure, no. But now it's just a museum.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just used as kind of like a hub, like a kind of headquarters, and then they have the newer, more modern ships. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's what happens a lot. So that you get more and more like a monopoly, but a few bigger companies dominating the whole pirate business.
Yeah.
But that also, I think that makes the hiring easier, right? So like if you're looking for personnel and you have a bit of a famous name, then you have a bunch of openings.
You'll attract applicants.
Exactly. So you don't have to hire recruiters to find the next cabin boy. It's basically people, hey, I want to be a pirate. Then you automatically apply.
Get lots of people applying, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just wondering what the how the hiring
the requirements. Yeah, I mean, like any job advertisement, there'll be things that they say, whether they do or not, they say that they need. And at least the ones I've seen, they're always the very first thing is that you must have proper pronunciation of pirate terms.
Oh.
And I mean, it doesn't in the advertisement say the terms, but of course it's up to you to research for that ship. Okay, what are their terms?
Obviously, yeah.
And then find out
and
practice the pronunciation.
Exactly, they're gonna ask you, and if you're gonna say, oh yeah, just then tell me a few terms, then you're already out.
But if you've just read them, but you haven't learned the correct pronunciation, they'll be able to tell.
Oh man, I would totally fall through.
I mean, I have not learned the correct pronunciation, so
because we already disagreed on R.
Right. Like you say with the hearing the G at the end. I always knew that it just says R without the G. It was a silent GH. That's how I knew it.
And yo ho ho.
I mean, that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
How could that be different? I mean, it sounds right to me, never having been a pirate yet, so I don't actually... So sure, everyone's like, shiver me timbers, matey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Avast.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's about it.
Yeah. But so, I mean, I think we're saying them correctly. I haven't applied to work on a pirate ship.
I think maybe we're pronouncing it correctly, but I don't think we have the right kind of intonation.
And maybe we haven't put the energy into it.
Yes, shiver me timbers. Yeah, okay, that's maybe properly pronounced, but a pirate saying it like that is going to be...
Sure. Maybe some of these are meant to be like sing-song. Like you're not just saying them, but like as part of the song, maybe.
I guess, yeah. But it's basically at the interview, you have to shiver me timbers.
Put on an accent. Maybe they require a certain accent.
Like a piratey accent. I'm wondering if you do a really bad at the interview, they're going to keelhole you, maybe?
Perhaps.
Make you walk the plank?
Yeah. I mean, it would be fitting. You'd maybe feel like even though I'm not getting the job, but hey, at least I got that.
I heard, I think that's also Capo Destro, to have a no scruples assessment center, where you're put through a bunch of tests to check if you really have no scruples.
To confirm, right. Because if you do have some scruples, you're not cut out for life as a pirate.
Exactly. You're gonna be checked for scruples.
Yeah, you need to be scruple free.
Yeah, exactly. If they find any scruples on you, it's out of the door with you.
Yeah. And I mean, there are vaccinations against that kind of thing, but depending on the ship, how desperate they are for crew. Okay, they really need some crew. Maybe they'll pay for you to be vaccinated against the scruples. But in the case of the Capo Destro, where they've got more applicants than jobs, okay, they can just say, hey, you've got scruples, get out of it.
I'm imagining you have to really separate, work from private life. It's like in the weekend, and then but then you need to switch on your scruples for the weekend. If you're gonna
when you want to be doing stuff not pirate related.
What are your plans, or walk your dog? It's useful to have some scruples. You mentioned vaccination. That's what I heard. Like, to be a pirate, you have to have.
Exactly. So that one against scruples, that's pretty important, but also scurvy.
Yeah, right. That was it.
You need to have been injected with a whole lot of vitamin C. Make sure you don't get that.
I can imagine that. Yeah, it's like I heard in the airships, sometimes they stay up in the air for a pretty long time. Congo connection is pretty bad up there. The Pebble network doesn't come to there.
Exactly.
So they eat a lot of biscuit and sauerkraut,
salted fish,
stuff like
but
that.
Not enough lemons.
I think, is there anything else that you need to?
Yeah, there's one more thing, which is like, I guess more obvious, maybe, especially as a kid, if you're imagining pirates. There's a race. It's a race, not against someone else, but basically against time, to see that you can dig up a treasure chest within a certain amount of time, that you don't take too long. Because all those other things we've mentioned, great, but if you can't actually dig up treasure, you're also not suited to be a pirate.
That's true. Although I can also imagine that it's not just about the time, but also how you address it.
Sure, your technique as well.
Exactly. So, do you immediately start digging, or do you briefly pause to think about the way,
Yeah, like maybe you go get, so do you use the spade you have in your hand, or do you look behind you and realize there's a big yellow digger that you can drive get the whole thing out in one scoop.
Exactly. And it's basically how you address the problem is more important than solving it, at least in the job interview. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess. I think that maybe we would be suited enough to apply for a job.
I mean, we know some stuff at least. Maybe not the pronunciation, but we know some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some jobs I've always wanted to. Some I've had many jobs in my life. Some I've always wanted to try, haven't got to yet. Pirate has not been on that list. Either one I've done or one I want to do. I don't really like the idea of having to have vaccinations against scruples or scurvy.
I can imagine, yeah. Also,
the implication being those things, well, scurvy at least, is rife.
I'm also not a big biscuit fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to be a pirate, but I hate biscuits.
Well, I like some biscuits, but as I understand it, pirate biscuits are really salty, and that's not the kind of biscuit I like.
Okay. But although I like, because a lot of floating cities are home to pirate ships, right? So you dock, of course, occasionally, right? And it's being a pirate, you're not really welcomed everywhere. But some of the floating cities, they have like extended pirate harbors, or of course Bad City. I think Bad City, there's a lot of pirate ships originating from there. That could be a fun attraction, because like teleporting there is one thing, but basically being up there for a while and then actually docking in a floating city harbor, going off board, really old fashioned, kind of feels cool. Mm-hmm. Exploring the docks.
Maybe some nice bars. Get some drinks there as well.
Exactly. Get some tattoos.
Of course.
Stradivarius a Capodastro ship tattoo on your arm. It needs to be official.
Down the whole length of the arm, maybe.
Exactly. Oh man, everybody who got a Stradivarius tattoo now has to have it as
append the extra stuff.
Actually, like put the branding now below it. Oh man, this was a great deal for the tattoo artists. All the pirates need to come back and have their tattoos updated. Yeah, you gotta have proper branding.
Definitely. There's just one last thing I think at least that we have here in our notes, which is we've mentioned especially the Capodastro, really successful pirate ship, and there was one that was not so successful. We didn't even mention its name earlier. So the ship is the Never Received, and it got stuck.
Is that the one that got stuck below the Arc de Triomphe?
That's the one. It just got stuck. Like it tried to go under there, wasn't quite enough space.
Yeah, I remember the CEO was gonna brag because he knew somebody down there. I can go below the Arc de Triomphe, and then it didn't fit.
I think that, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes they have a bit more success, have some additions built onto the boat, and in this case, didn't take that into account. Had been able to sail under there before, presumably, didn't this time.
It was stuck there for weeks, and then no other traffic could go through under the Arc de Triomphe anymore. Correct. No other airships, no flying cars. The whole traffic in that area of Paris was blocked.
It was a big disruption.
Oh man, and it was a bit of a laugh for everybody.
Sure, yeah. So now the Never Received. Their reputation wasn't great before, but it's worse now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That they're not doing well. I heard.
Yeah.
Okay. You kind of feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Did you have any personal pirate encounters or pirate ships that you saw? Or
in the distance, like Frankfurt some weeks ago, and obviously other times, but never up close. No, I've not been on. I've never been on a somewhere that was raided by pirates myself. No. Heard about it after the fact from friends, but not myself. Yourself? Have you first-hand experience?
I went on a harbor tour in. I think this was on top of Ontario. They have like a part of the docks where pirates are allowed, and you could get a tour there basically. But when I was there was just one small startup ship, and they were just basically putting stuff on board. And
the startup ships. They are pirate ships, but they're not really what you want to see.
No, exactly. And they were new, so they were basically
they're green to it as well.
Yeah, and they were kind of like streamlined, and they didn't have any tattoos, any long ears, no pointy ears, and stuff like this. So, but it was nice to see the docks, because the docks, they definitely, I'm not sure it was on purpose or not, but they all looked. They did look very piratey, like the colors and the vibe, and also the cranes and so on. But it was just abandoned. There were no pirates there, but it seemed to be in style. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm all out of pirate stuff.
Yeah, we've covered all. There's no, there may be more to say about pirates, and people in the past should send an email to michaellasagna5@gmail.com with the number 88 in the subject, that we know they're responding to this episode, and they should ask us questions about pirates when they have such questions, and then we'll have more to say about them.
And they have lots of questions. Maybe we'll go find a pirate.
Perhaps.
With a proper branded tattoo.
Well, we could ask, depending on the questions, we could maybe even ask the pirate directly.
We can ask him to clarify the pronunciation.
At least for the ship they're from, yeah.
Yeah. And they I mean Shivery Timbers.
Indeed.
Okay, cool. Did we tell our listeners how they ask us questions?
I just did that a second ago. I snuck it in there. Man, all unofficial.
I'm still all in my head is still in pirate.
Sure.
Pirate world. Okay, cool. That means we got everything covered. Then thanks for listening, and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.